What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the most effective moves at the top of the route to create some separation. So we're going to be talking about how you guys could get open and get zone coverage, off-man coverage, press man coverage, soft press, all the above, and all the things you can do at the top of the route, because the top of the route is what gets you open. It's not what you do off the line. Off the line is what keeps the timing with the quarterback. The top of the route is what gets you separation so you can win that route and get as much space as possible from this DB. So I hope this video gives you guys some value, but also, fellas, if you guys want over an hour and a half's worth of content on specific wide receiver drills for route running and press releases and the specific situations when to use those press releases, check out that very first link in our description below, our route running Bible. So what this is going to contain is our full 49-minute long video on improving your route running in 10 days, which is a 10-day schedule to improve your route running with the specific drills you need to do, and our 20 press release video, which is 48 minutes long with the specific releases that you need to do, when to use those releases, and the drills to work on those. So very first link in the description, fellas, to get access to that video. Let's get started. So the first route we're going to be looking at here is from Rashad Bateman. We're going to be talking about this rocker step at the top, and that's one of the best ways to get separation, especially when you restack a defender. So when I'm coming back over here, you see when he gets off the line, this DB, we kind of force a speed turn, good release off the line of scrimmage to make sure that I get him to turn around. Now, anytime I'm trying to work to restack here, it's very important that we try the best we can to get this DB to trail behind my hip. Or just, long story short, we want to try the best we can off of the line to restack, especially when we have a route downfield. Now, there's a pretty deep corner. It's probably a situation where maybe we got like a kind of an inside stem corner, and then we have like a flat route from the number 2, almost like a reverse smash, but it's man coverage. So we know from a quarterback perspective, I like this matchup. As a receiver, I know I got to get up into this route fast. So when I get up into this route and I restack, when this DB's on my back hip, a rocker step is one of the best moves at the top, next to just a regular single cut, to get this DB to move to the inside and jump to the inside. So when I get over the top here, it's super important. A rocker step, all it is it's 2 steps. So if you're trying to break to the outside, you want to step with your outside foot first. It's like a double move off the line. You want to step in the direction that you're going first. So I get to the top of this break, I want to go right, then left. And when you're going right and left, you want to make sure that you're pushing off of that inside arch of that cut. So I come off here, it's right, then left. And you see how he's pushing to the outside here. His hips and his shoulders are almost turning. He's throwing his hip almost like a crossover, but his toes remain forward so that weight can stay on the inside arch of his foot. So as you can see right here, he could push off. And I know that's very detailed, fellas, but the details matter. The details matter when you're making cuts like this, because it's all about efficiency right here. Especially if he doesn't have hands on you, you should get a ton of separation. You should get at least 3 to 5 yards of separation every single time if he does not have hands on you in man coverage, right? It should be easy. We hope that it's man coverage, right? So now, like I said, you want to just give this 1, then this 2 break to the outside, shoulders and hips. Hopefully that gets the DB to jump, because where is he supposed to be watching? It's supposed to be watching my hips, and then I can just accelerate and explode off of that break point, use that energy I created with those steps to get back to that ball or win the race to the ball. So that's a perfect example of a rocker step and how you guys can use it. A rocker step can be used especially in an off-man situation. I'm not a big fan of zone, using it in zone, unless we're attacking that blind spot, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I like this rocker step off-man, press man, especially when you restack, but off man when you're closing the distance, getting this DB on his heels, and I make that 1-2. The routes you want to use a rocker step on, anything that you can use a one-step cut on, right? So you can do it on a corner, do it on an out route, you can do it on post route, you can do it on a dig route. So those are probably the big 4 that I like to use this thing on. I wouldn't use it on anything short. I like this on anything 10 yards plus, okay? And you could get creative with it. You could maybe go a rocker step and then push vertical and then run a comeback, right? That's more of like a vertical set, but you could get creative with this rocker step. Just make sure that the technique is correct and you know when to use it. Let's watch this thing again full speed one more time. So great job taking the inside release here, hitting him with that 1-2 at the top of the break, then accelerating and winning that race back to the ball. So now we're going to be talking about this lean technique, okay? So now, when I come off here, I like this lean when you either take an inside release on an inside breaking route or an outside release on an outside breaking route. And this DB plays this thing somewhat well, because our goal should always be, okay, I'm going to try to restack. I'm going to restack the best I can. Especially when it's man coverage, off man, whatever, not so much off man, but like soft press, my goal is to always restack. So let's watch this thing full speed. So we give this a little hesitation release, gives a little lean, and then breaks this thing off and accelerates out to the corner. So I love this release because, 1, it gives you a little bit of space from the sideline for the quarterback to throw you open. I think in this case, the quarterback threw this either a little late or maybe not enough on this, maybe kind of underthrew it a little bit. But I think if we get it up a little bit earlier from a quarterback perspective, this is a much better play and we're not hugging the sideline. So when I take an outside release here and this DB plays it well, we always got to have a plan. You can't just run up into a route and it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do a rocker step. If he plays it well, then I guess I'm screwed. I'm just going to round this thing off and run a lazy route. You want to make sure that you constantly have a plan, right? He stays over the top, or like, let's say he's way over the top, I probably am going to try to really get into him and really give him this lean. Let's say maybe he trails behind and I get him on the release. I'm going to work to restack and then maybe work a rocker at the top or a heavy indicator cut, right? You got to always have that plan in your head, especially if the DB plays it well. So when this DB's hip to hip with me, a great thing I could do is I angle that stem. Rather than just running to the outside and breaking to the corner, I could give him this little lean, right? And when you lean with your inside shoulder and with like almost your inside hip into him, but still maintain speed, still maintain your stride, still maintain your body language and actually go and give him that lean, that's what can get him off you. That's what you can get some space from this DB because of that lean, right? So a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of people will go here and they'll try to do this, but they end up pushing and extending. This is how you can almost get away with the push off, because when you lean into him with your shoulder, all this looks like is just contact at the top of the route. It doesn't look like you're extending. You're not extending your arm. You're not pushing off of him. You're just giving him a lean. So when you decide to make that break and explode this way, it's almost like you're pushing off of him. So this lean technique is a great way to I don't like saying get away with the push off because it really isn't a push off, but one, to get away with the push off, but also to give yourself space from that sideline to create some separation and get that DB sitting on the inside. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. That's a great example of this lean technique that you guys can use at the top of a route. So when do we like to use this? We like this with an outside breaking route, with an outside breaking route with an outside release, and then an inside breaking route with an inside release. If you were to go the opposite way, like let's say he had to run a post in this case, that's when you would work like a throw-by technique where you would swat him by on the back of his hip or the back of his shoulder. Same idea. You don't want to extend. You don't want to push. It's just a subtle movement, and you use the DB's momentum to create some separation. Okay, so now we're going to get into a situation here where we like this against off-man or zone coverage, and it's called a vertical set. So this is how you guys would run, and I include this at the top of the route just because it's a question that I get asked commonly, and this is something that you guys got to be able to do, especially when you guys are a fade-heavy team and you guys got to run a fade against either off man or against zone coverage. So it's called a vertical set. So what that is it's just one hard step to the inside, very similar to a rocker step, but it's to get this DB to sit on like a post, right? So when I come off here, so let's talk about this. When I have a vertical set, like let's say if this was zone, right? This is like an off man situation. But if this was zone, and how would we tell the difference, right? So right now it's an off man. This DB's looking at him kind of in a squatted back pedal stance, and obviously it's one-on-one, so you can know this man. But in a real game scenario, it could look very similar to some guys. In a real game scenario, his eyes will probably be inside because he'll probably be pattern reading in some cases, right? Because like, let's say he just runs a hitch. He's not just going to stay on the hitch and we got a corner behind it. He's going to back up to the corner. So he's kind of reading that quarterback, reading his eyes. His eyes are going to be not necessarily in the backfield, but his eyes will be inside, right? So that's how we know the difference. If he's looking at us, I can determine that it's a man coverage look, especially if you're a receiver out of the slot. In zone, you're going to be seeing a lot of this. Like, let's say, for example, his split is cut down and this is a safety, and it's like or like a too high safety concept look, right? And then he's not bailing out. Like, let's say it's like maybe quarters or whatever it is, right? And let's say he's looking at him. This is like, that's how he would play this. He's reading the number 2, right? So like, let's say you had to run like just a deep seam. This is something you could use to get some separation, right? So when I close the distance here, we're trying to make this DB sit on what? We're trying to make him sit on a post. So what did we learn from the very first clip that we talked about, even with the rocker step? My shoulders and my hips got to commit to the inside, and that's what gets him to sit on the post. Because again, where is he supposed to be watching? He's supposed to be watching hips. So I got to make sure that I commit my hips and throw my hips to the inside, because that's what will get this guy to sit. That's what will get him to jump. And if I can get him to jump or just to even hesitate and stop his feet and shift his weight, I can accelerate. So now when I use this vertical set, whether it's zone coverage and you get him to drop his feet and sit on a post and want to drive on it, and I'm trying to slip behind, or man coverage and I really get this guy to bite on it, this right here is what makes or breaks guys. If this DB doesn't fall over, right? Because this DB stumbles, it kind of kills me. But you see how Rashad Bateman right here does a great job of keeping his head down and continuing to drive out with his legs and continues that stride. When you guys keep your head down off of this vertical set, I can actually widen the distance. Now, from a quarterback perspective, if I'm throwing a fade and it's off coverage, or if it's like you're running a seam out of the slot against 2 high safeties, or maybe it's just zone on the outside, maybe we got 1 high safety and I'm trying to throw it outside, what I'm going to do is I'm putting this thing out there, man. I'm putting this thing with air. I'm letting you make a move, and I'm going to let you go chase it down. So we got to make sure that I keep my head down and I continue to run, because if you guys look back too soon and you don't look back until you got him by about 3 steps, let's say you make this vertical set. Like, let's say he gets some separation, and then right here he starts looking back for the ball. You're slowing down because your chest is popping up. You got to widen the distance first, then let's look for the ball, and that comes from a lot of chemistry and a lot of route work with your quarterback to be able to have that confidence. So this vertical set is a great move at the top top of the route that you guys can use to get separation when you got to run a fade against off man or zone coverage. Just watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Great job closing the distance. That's very important here. Throwing that upper half to the inside and accelerating back up. That's a great route there by Rashad Bateman. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I will get back to you as soon as possible. And again, fellas, over an hour and a half's worth of premium route running and press release content. Check out that very first link in the description, fellas, for our route running Bible. It's great value. Buy one, get one free value. Hope we get you guys on that soon. I'll see you guys next time.